I'll sit here, but maybe somebody else.
Would you introduce yourself?
Eileen Bruner. I'm from Midland. We all know that the state employees need a raise. They haven't had a raise for 3 years, but things haven't been really rosy in the education community either. And I can speak for Noel because that's my experience. And Noel, last year we didn't have a raise, we didn't have a step. Our insurance got cut. The year before we didn't have a raise, we didn't have a step. The year before was $500. So things haven't been great there. But I want to talk about the bonuses and what is your perception, because I was reading an article in the Representative Journal about the proposed Abdullah's bill, which is now gone, and it said evaluations would not be considered for the state employees' bonuses, okay? But for the K-12 teachers, it will be in place, and that it has been implied that the administrators maybe don't know how to do evaluations, so we need to teach them how to do evaluations. And then the state employees will receive the bonus automatically regardless of performance, and for the K-12 teachers, we're told, okay, you're doing a really good job, you have good test scores, but we're not keeping up. For some reason, the other states have gone ahead of us. We don't know why. We really didn't study why the other states are ahead of us, but let's try merit pay to try to get this better. And then for the state employees, the bonus will require that they were employed on a certain date. It doesn't in 2011, and the payment, I believe, will be July 2012. And for the K-12 teachers, they have to do something extra. Some of them will work really hard. They may not get anything, but the payment will come, I believe, in 2013. Of course, that's all subject to change yet with amendments. So if I'm an outsider looking into South Dakota, my perception is that I have warm, cozy, fuzzy feelings for the state employees and for the teachers. You've been really bad. Your scores are not improving like they should. Even though you work really hard, you may not get a bonus. And we appreciate what the governor and the legislature is trying to do, all of what you're trying to do to help education. But the only lasting solution is for us to get a commitment that year after year that we know, and not one-time monies, because it needs to be a profession that is going to be well paid. Teachers know when they start, or when they go out to college, they know that it's going to be a well-paid profession every year. And the schools cannot budget on one-time monies. They have to have that know that it's going to come before they can raise those steps. So what is your perception on a comparison between these two bonuses?
Well, that's a great question. I'm sure Larry would love to answer.
Larry?
I'll take a stab. Well, to me, it's like almost comparing apples to oranges. We put a guy out on a snowplow. He's responsible for your road maintenance, whatever. I would hope that the perception is that when we put a person in front of students, it's a whole lot different deal. That we place a lot more importance on that than a lot of state employees. To answer your question about building the base, absolutely. This program is nice coming down the road, but it's completely different than the formula discussion. We know that we need to start putting dollars back in the per student allocation and the base formula and build on that. And we know that last year that what it ended up as a 6.6% cut was it hurt a lot of school districts. And we cautiously need to put money back in. The problem is if you put money back in the base, you have to build on that next year. And if we go back into a recessionary period, having to cut it again certainly isn't what we want. So we do a combination of things as far as building that base and then some one-time dollars so that the base kind of builds slowly. And unfortunately, we can't get back to where we were overnight. It's going to take a few years. And the conversation with state employees, I don't think is anywhere near being over. I mean, the 5% bonus, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that 3% will probably stay. The 5% bonus, we're looking at the bottom end employees probably getting a little bit more percentage-wise and holding the top down. But I don't think we're really in agreement about it should be a 5%. I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, I know probably some state employees are going to pounce on me because then you bring in college professors as state employees, so they certainly need to be shored up also, but that conversation is really ongoing.
Senator Rhodes.
Well, I appreciate the question, but I think Tom's right. They are really separate conversations. The governor was hedging his bets with one-time monies. You know, he was looking, I think, from my interpretation, or impression was that he was looking for areas that needed funding. He wanted to hedge his bets as far as putting those monies toward ongoing expenditures, like putting it in the base. Education funding specifically, he started out with a PSA and he added the per student allocation. I will use this as an opportunity to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 124. And it's really a confusing conversation. But the short version is, we had the bill last year. I carried the bill to freeze property tax and allow that. The governor proposed to cut everybody, state funding and local property tax by 10%. I proposed a bill to freeze the property tax and allow that revenue to reduce the cut to education, which they did. But there was a one-time $12 million shortfall for fiscal year 12 last year. When that bill got to the House, we agreed to amend the per student allocation, the total number down by $97 to give the governor back that $12 million. The intent was for that PSA, that personnel allocation, to go back up $97 this year in the formula. That didn't happen. They stuck with the lower per student allocation, which in effect turned that $12 million one-time shortfall to the governor's budget into a $12 million ongoing revenue to the general fund at the cost of the property taxpayers. That's my view of it, and the numbers that I have bear that out. So I brought forward Senate Bill 124, which corrects that, and all it does is reset the starting point for student funding back to the number where what should have been the starting point for education. It's $97 above where it is now. That came out of my State Affairs Committee with 11-0 vote, with the governor's office and the Bureau of Finance Management under the governor and the Department of Education testifying against it. Still passed by 11-0. I have 25 of the 30 Republican senators signed on as co-sponsors. Although that means little at this point, because the governor's office is fighting that pretty fiercely at this point. They realize that that's ongoing. We're adding $97 back into the formula, and that would be ongoing. So my hope is that conversation, that Senate Bill 124, moves forward through the process, so it is on the table at the end of the day when we have the updated revenue numbers, when everything comes into focus as far as what our revenue is going to be for the state.